So, guys, there's this total fucking loser called Lord Miles, who's a British guy who was in Afghanistan when the US withdrew or whatever and the Taliban took over. And he was posting on 4chan at the time. And so he was like posting about being stuck in Afghanistan on 4chan, and the posts went kind of viral. And so he started off a fledgling white nationalist influencer career off the back of it, where he basically goes around to Middle Eastern countries and says, oh, aren't they all so disgusting and gross, except the way they oppress women? That's kind of awesome, right? That's basically the tune of like every piece of content he's ever done. And he finally fucking left the UK for good. He said he was leaving for good a few months ago. So finally washed their hands of him. And he's been doing a fasting challenge in the desert. And someone posted on Twitter that he'd died. And I thought, I saw that. And, you know, I had to fact check, obviously. I had to fact check before I started jumping up and down, clicking my heels. So I started fact checking, and I realized that there was a Polymarket betting thing on whether he would complete this fasting challenge that had suddenly dropped from being quite a high percentage to a very low percentage. And then people had started buying around then. And so it immediately seemed suspicious. And then like a day later, people were posting pictures of his Discord being like online. So it was not the case at all. But now there's a Coffeezilla video called YouTuber Arrested After Being Accused of Scamming. It's apparently about Lord Miles. So great, you know, arrested is a good second place, I guess. Let's take a look. Let's see.
This YouTuber just scammed his fans for about $100,000, and then his sponsor claimed he was dead while he claimed he had been arrested by the Saudis. Now, to be clear, there's still a lot we don't know. The YouTuber is a guy named Lord Miles. He's best known for going to Afghanistan and apparently being captured by the Taliban and then later getting set free. He's known for these outrageous stunts, and his latest is a 40-day water fast in the desert, where he has created a Polymarket, and the official Polymarket account has been heavily engaging and promoting it. If you don't know, Polymarket is a place where you can bet on various events. You can see it says breaking: Lord Miles has restarted his 40-day fast in the desert. Less than 50% chance he makes it through. And people put real money on this. That's what I really have to emphasize to you guys. There's all sorts of rules to this. There's money on the line. You can see there has been $14 million of betting volume on this wager. And for a while, you know, it was low odds. And as the challenge went on, it seemed like people got more confidence in Miles. Of course, suddenly then you see it drop off a cliff after he vanished. And people didn't know where he was, only to find out later that he was claiming to have been dead/imprisoned. Now, future Steven here, I've got to say, I've now been in touch with Miles right before I released this video. I gave him a chance to comment. He extensively talked to me, well, not him, a friend. Supposedly, they're saying he really is in jail, and Miles gave me a statement. First, he said, you need to wait 6 months till I get out. And I said, I'm not going to wait for you. I don't even know if you are actually detained or not. And subsequently, they did get a response from Miles. I'm going to read that in a second. But first, I want to lay out the context. And then I'll give you his side of the story. To be clear, he denies scamming people. And he says, yes, very much. He has been set up. It's all a big setup. So, you know, we'll put our Scooby-Doo mystery hats on in a bit here. But we're going to go through the basics now. And then I'll come back and talk with you in a bit.
That's cap. Coffeezilla's gonna own this guy, I can tell. Redditzilla's got this guy. Redditzilla's got this guy locked down.
Basically, how it worked is the guy would live stream himself in the desert for a while. He was sponsored by someone named Duel. We will get into them a bit later. But he essentially tried to live stream himself 24 hours a day for 40 days to prove that he was not doing anything other than drinking water. That's what a water fast is. And right from the jump, he addressed the very serious conflict of interest problem where why wouldn't you just bet on yourself and lose the challenge, right? If you have a betting market on something like this, seems like he has an unfair conflict of interest. And he addressed this and said, one, he wasn't allowed to bet on himself, and that, yes, maybe his friends were betting on him, but, you know, he doesn't really know.
Did you bet on yourself on Polymarket? No, I'm not allowed. Betting on yourself is a very bad thing. You know what I mean? I'm doing well financially right now. I don't need to 10x my money or something. I'm not in that position.
Have you ever heard it before? That's the classic. I don't need the money. That's why I wouldn't do it. Now, he also addresses the idea that, you know, you could just set up sock puppet accounts and bet on yourself in one way or another.
But yeah, people were like, oh, why aren't you betting yourself on Polymarket? You can do it using alt accounts. I know my friends are betting me on Polymarket because they basically get like updates from me personally, and I just tell them, hey, I'm doing just fine.
So yeah,
So, dude, this guy gets to play so fucking... He gets to act like a real fucking Wignat super soldier on Twitter, where no one can hear his fucking voice. And then you hear him, and he's got like a fucking roticism. It's like, yeah, no wonder you're a fucking white nationalist. The only way you feel relevant is by instituting a governmental system that prioritizes you for the circumstances of your birth alone.
They basically get like updates from me personally, and I just tell them, hey, I'm doing just fine.
So yeah, that's the basics. He claims he can't bet on himself. Later, he's sleeping or something. And I think he probably just faked this too. I don't really know if he's actually sleep talking here, but he appears to address the haters in his sleep, address the idea that maybe he's cheating. You can decide if you think this is authentic or not.
Bloody Polymarket cyber thing ruined my reputation for like 20k. Fools, idiots.
I don't know if that's the world's greatest fraud.
Dude, it's like, this guy and everyone that follows him is totally fucking disabled, man. Seriously. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Cyber thing ruined my reputation for like 20k. Fools, idiots.
I don't know if that's the world's greatest Freudian slip or he's trying to, you know, give little clues to the plan here. But yeah, he talks about ruining his reputation in his sleep. He also pretty aggressively was like going against the people who were betting against him. He was always making a bunch of comments that led a lot of his followers to believe he was all in. In fact, he said that he had been offered money in order to throw the challenge for the people, I suppose, that were betting against him finishing this whole thing.
Someone on Polymarket has DM'd Morgan on Instagram and offered $30,000 for me to end the challenge around my birthday. They said, eat the birthday cake, don't worry about it. It'll be our little secret. This is my personal decision if I should end the fast. No food! No! No! Ah!
So yeah, I don't know if it's such a good idea to admit that people are secretly offering you deals to take this, especially when there was so much confusion around the challenge. There was, you know, entire periods of time where he's off camera for like several minutes at a time, claiming that he was taking a shower, but whatever, you know, fake challenge or not, obviously eventually he just disappears from the challenge, and there has to be a story about what ultimately happened to him. So this is where we come back to Duel. If you remember, that's the people who sponsored him in the challenge. You can see their logo back here, and you can see the CEO of Duel, Monarch, who has been featured on Coffeezilla before, saying, Duel decided to sponsor Lord Miles for his desert fasting bet with Polymarket. My team just informed me that his death is confirmed. A few hours ago, Miles fell into a coma after hospital staff gave him glucose IV without his consent. I hope he's at peace wherever he is. And they gave a RIP Lord Miles. So for a while, people genuinely thought this guy was dead, and that was the reason that he had kind of abandoned the market. Of course, it was also strange that around this time, Lord Miles' tweets had gotten privated, and his videos had also gotten privated. If you go to his channel, it said the channel had 0 videos, whereas previously he had all the live streams of him, you know, in the tent and whatever.
This guy.
But then we hear a contradiction from Lord Miles himself. He says that Miles has been detained by Saudi intelligence on false charges from an American who created several fake reports to a bribed corrupt journalist in order to make money on Polymarket. Guys, you'll never believe the corruption on this betting market that he's in. He says, quote, "We are aware that someone who bet on the no option on Polymarket has bribed a journalist to put out fake news about Miles, manipulating the Saudi police so that they would detain him and to investigate potential terrorist ties. He has spent 2 weeks without seeing sunlight and remains in custody. His communication is limited, but he will try to give updates on his situation." Now, that's obviously pretty serious. Thank goodness he's not dead, like they said, but you see here that it says last edited at 3:55 p.m. Well, if you go to the earlier copy of this tweet, obviously he's in, Saudi custody, so there's no way he could have written this tweet. But in the tweet, it says, "So they would detain me." So later, "detain me" is changed to "detain him." Surely there's nothing going on there, guys. It's completely legitimate. It's not Miles writing this the whole time. And then after this, we have a bizarre update from Miles, where he claims that he was forced to eat in the hospital by the police. Supposedly, he did not eat for a total of 34 days and was forced to by police. He wouldn't have done it otherwise. And yet, once again, we see the claims that people were making their no bet against Miles, and that's why he was detained, in order to stop him from his ruthless finishing of this challenge, right? Even there were people like Callum, I guess that's a friend of his, who...
Dude, no way fucking Sargon's rent boy is sticking up for him.
Claims that they had confirmation and contact that Miles was detained by his Saudi's Majesty's pleasure. No charges. It seems to be the result of bad actors providing false info to get him detained to rig the outcome of the Polymarket stream. Now, that's a pretty interesting story. He was forcibly detained. The sponsor thought he was dead. I mean, this is quite the story. That poor Miles, here he was turning down $30,000 from people, and poor guy, he just was forced to eat. So I wanted to actually do some tracing of this, and it turns out that some other people had found that Miles has previously posted his Ethereum address, which we can use to trace all of his activity. So that's his Ethereum address right there, OX213. That'll become important in a second, because remember how we said he was offered $30,000 to quit the challenge? Well, at one point, he talks about actually getting sent $16,000, which is pretty interesting.
Some guy was meant to pay me 16K today. Let's see if it's come through.
Now, I find that very interesting, because around that time, we see the Lord Miles Ethereum address get paid $16,000 during his fast. Now, pay attention to the time. This is at 3:53 UTC time on the 17th. Well, less than an hour later, Lord Miles sends 15,000 of those dollars to this address, OX613, who then sends $14,000 an hour later to this relay solver, which is a bridge on Polymarket, to OXDE1. Now, that account is very important, because that's an account that has made $61,000 on an account titled Money, Money, Please. I want to make money. I hate my job. And most of his money has come from a bet on Lord Miles not finishing the 40-day water fast. You can see he's profited $60,000 by betting against Miles to finish this. Now, isn't that interesting? Lord Miles is sending money to the same address, which is betting against him.
So, yeah, literally, the whole, it is just pure, scamming. It's just pure scamming. And this fucking Callum rat is fucking backing him. Dude, it's just crazy. How does this not sink you, man?
Let's make this even more concrete, because I traced yet another transaction. Once again, this is Lord Miles' Ethereum address sending $9,000 in Tether to this OX613. And that account then sends $9,000 to this relay solver. It's a bridge to Polygon. Then the same day, you can see the same day, literally 7 seconds later, this account gets basically $9,000 minus a few bucks in fees for the bridge. And then that account puts a bunch of bets on Polymarket. Now we can actually see those transactions lining up perfectly with the bets made by this Money, Money, Please account. We see that in his activity tab, we see him betting a series of bets. The first one for $2,000. We see $2,000 here. $500, $500, $1,000, $1,000, $5,485. Guys, it's clear cut. The blockchain does not lie. Lord Miles was secretly placing bets against himself to not finish a water fast while participating in a water fast and pushing all his followers to bet on him. Meanwhile, then he's got this big story about he was detained by Saudi police in order to stop him from finishing his bet. And of course, his sponsor is claiming that he died. To say this is gross and manipulative and disgusting is an understatement. I've never really seen anything like this. All for basically $100,000. I also wanted to add that Lord Miles had also launched a pump fund at the same time, and he claimed publicly to have made $31,000 there. That plus the $16,000, which he got since supposedly, about $100,000. All brought to you by Polymarket. Now, I think Polymarket should refund everyone. I think it's insane to have people bet on this thing, which clearly is rigged. But okay, that's my side of the story, seeing things from the outside. Now it's time to give the devil his due and give Lord Miles his side of the story, or at least the guy who's running his account right now, because I asked for comment for this whole story, and a guy named Akkad secretary contacted me on behalf of Miles. This is the same guy who's claimed that he kept silent about it until he had confirmation and contact. He claims that he can confirm Miles is not dead, but is detained at his Saudi Majesty's pleasure. We saw that a bit earlier. And this is the guy who supposedly is...
Sargon's rent boy, this is crazy, man. You know, I knew this guy was like a dysgenic little worm, but I did not assume that he was like a full-blown fucking just lying sack of shit that would cover for his rat scamming friend. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Is running Miles's account in his absence. Remember, supposedly Miles was detained in order to get him to lose the bet. I spoke extensively to this guy, and he gave me two things. One, he sent me a screenshot of an email where he said it proved that Miles was indeed imprisoned or detained. The red is where I have made redactions, and the gray, he made redactions. It says, "Dear Callum, thank you for the email. We are aware of the below and following up with Miles and the authorities regarding this. As soon as we have an update, we will share with blank, who is the single point of contact, and it's some kind of casework manager for Saudi Arabia." I don't know, take that for what it is. I asked for the full email. It was not provided. But they told me, look, you need to wait until Miles is out of detainment, which could be 6 months from now, they claim, in order to report on this. I said, I'm not going to wait. You need to give me a statement for Miles right now. And somehow they managed to do that, even though he's detained. And so they said these accusations are somewhat understandable from his...
Dude, this is like embarrassing, man.
...suspicious person, but upon interrogation, they make no sense. On the question of abusing your followers to make 60K, this makes little sense for Miles for a number of reasons. Miles does plenty of business. YouTube isn't the main business. It's advertising for him. The main source of income is mining and exporting from Afghanistan, such as Osama bin Laden's car, which is currently being exported, valued at $1.2 million. Okay. I don't know what to say about that. Miles faces no charges regarding related to crypto, but a lie that he has relations to terrorism, and now is in a room with 16 people and no windows in very subpar conditions. You can be detained for up to 6 months without charge, which is not worth 60K. Additionally, if Miles wanted to throw the fast, he would have done it closer to 40 days, as the multiplier would have been much higher. The accounts being referenced belong to an Afghan national. So I sent them the crypto accounts. I said, hey, I put together this graphic for you guys. You know, basically Miles sent all this money and then it immediately got invested in the no. They're not denying that. They're saying that belongs to an Afghan national who helps Miles transfer money. Thanks to international sanctions, Afghanistan is under crypto is ideal, and this gentleman helps with this. I don't know what kind of gentleman he is. The guy who owns this account bet.
So, dude, what? Come on.
Okay, so they're not denying that someone bet and made a bunch of money. They just seem to be admitting, yeah, that's true. It was funded by Miles, but it's just a guy who helps him. I guess they're denying that Miles knew anything because Miles apparently makes so much money exporting Osama bin Laden's car or something. Quote, he wonders if the account has been active since his arrest, as he's in jail. He has no access to his electronics. Again, I don't know if he's in jail, and truthfully, I don't know. I keep asking for photos, some kind of statement. I've sent emails to people in authority trying to figure out, like, is this real, is it not? I can't find out one way or the other. I've given you all the evidence they've given me. They say someone knew Miles' location and they realized how much they can make off Miles if they dox him, so they did. He imagines how this looks, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes and would ask you that you not trample his reputation whilst he's in jail and unable to defend himself. If you want, Miles offered you to go to Saudi Arabia to see Miles in jail. He added, you are more than welcome to speak with Miles afterwards, as he's a big fan of yours. We've seen it before. They're a fan of Coffeezilla. Look, I'm not going to fly to Saudi Arabia. My name's not Bill Burr. Like, that's not going to happen. Because first and foremost, I don't think there's any need for me to fly out to Saudi Arabia. There has to be another way to show the fact, to confirm the fact that he is really being detained. Because if he is in jail, like, maybe I get arrested, but I also don't think he is. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. What I do know is that Miles sent money to an account that within hours was betting money against him and made $60,000 from the mysterious disappearance. And additionally, Miles made $30K from the pump fund, got paid $16K. It looks a little too suspicious to me. As I said, I'm going to give them their side of the story. I'm going to tell you what they're claiming. I don't find it credible personally, but strange things happen. Maybe it'll all come out that Miles was indeed targeted by his Afghan friend who he sends crypto to, and that guy bet against him and then also doxed him to the Saudi government on terrorism charges, and that got him arrested for 6 months. I don't know. Anything could happen. But yeah, I'll let you guys make up your minds. All right, that's basically it.
Wow. Yeah, he's a scamming fuck. Scamming rat fuck. This isn't even the first time he scammed people. He's a sociopath. As his fellow students at Loughborough University were confirmed. Wow. Wow. What a scamming piece of shit.